Yesterday, Joe Biden's son, was convicted of 3 felony counts, all having to do with a 2018 case in which he filled out paperwork illegally. Now, you might be thinking and telling yourself, didn't Trump do the same exact thing? If you don't remember, Trump was also charged with making an unkind political donation to himself and filling out the wrong tax form afterward. Which would you rather? One person who lied on a form for a firearm, which resulted in a gun ending up next to a high school, or a person who paid more taxes than he had to in 2016. I'll take the latter any day of the week. But of course, our media doesn't want to say this on air because it's true, and political commentators on the MSM are allergic to the truth. Without further ado, let's dig in.
Facts over tracks, isn't that spitting slow, spitting fast, I could roast, I could gas, think I'm okay at last, but I don't know if that can erase all the past.
What they don't want to tell us about this prosecution is that it is highly politicized. It's politicized because of the fact that they know that they need to get somebody on the opposite side, somebody on Joe Biden's side, because of the fact that it looks like the system is working, quote unquote. But these are not the same things at all. You can say that, yes, on the actual charges front, yes, but there was an actual case that the jury came to and agreed with for Hunter Biden. In New York, against a former president of America, all of the jury did not come to a consensus onto having the former president be charged with one thing. What ended up happening was that a couple jurors think one thing, a couple jurors think another thing, and a couple jurors think even another thing on top of those two other groups of people. So that's because of the fact that they didn't come to a consensus and all agree that Trump, the former president of America, did something wrong. Instead, they all were on the agreement to get Trump. That's what they were trying to do. They were trying to get Trump. And because of that, they prosecuted a former president of America. Now, how many years would Hunter Biden get? Hunter Biden would get up to 25 years and fines up to $750,000. And Joe Biden said that he will not be making a presidential pardon for Hunter Biden. But the thing is, this is completely abrupts the argument that the left has been making for the last few months. The argument that the left has been making for the last few months is that Joe Biden loves his son. And of course, he's going to be there in the room when Hunter Biden is on the board of Burisma and he's on the phone with the top leaders of the company. Of course, he's going to be in the room because Joe Biden loves his son. And that's the argument that they made for the last couple of months. Of course, every single aspect of Hunter Biden, of course, Joe Biden's going to be right there because he loves his son. But if you love your son, wouldn't you do anything for your son? And that includes a presidential pardon? Yeah, exactly. So now he's stuck between a rock and a hard place. If he does do the presidential pardon, then it looks like he's a political hack, in which he is. He just doesn't want to say it out loud. If he does not do the presidential pardon, then it means that he doesn't actually love his son, in which case he's been saying this for the last few months that he loves his son. So which one is it? Do you love your son and would do anything for your son? Or the other option, do you not like your son? Do you not love your son? And thus would have him go throughout prison time for the next 25 years, which you will be dead by the time he comes out, and you will let him rot in prison. That's the argument that Republicans should be making. If you loved your son so much, wouldn't you do anything for your son? Wouldn't you do anything for your son? But that's exactly the argument that the left wants us to make yet again. The left has set us up. The left wants us to talk about the Hunter Biden scandal and not the classified document scandal, in which case Joe Biden cannot be prosecuted for because of Robert Hur's investigation, in which found that Joe Biden is a quote-unquote well-meaning old man. So he's losing his mind with every single day that goes by. If Joe Biden wins election, Kamala Harris will be the president of America because Joe Biden will sadly not be with us the next 4 years around. Joe Biden is counting down his last moments on earth with us every single day. And it's a sad reality that we need to witness this every single day we wake up. Every day we wake up, we're like, okay, is the president of America gonna fall down or fall going up the stairs, or trip going on stage, Or is he going to slip on a banana peel and then flip backwards 2 times and then land on his forehead? Is that what the president of America is going to end up doing? That's what we need to worry about on an everyday basis. Trump, the only thing that they have on Trump is the fact that he went down a ramp a little bit slower than usual. Oh, boo-hoo. Trump can go down a ramp all that he wants, a little bit slower. If he wants to be careful, he can do that. But at least he doesn't poop his pants on D-Day, honoring our troops that risked their lives. At least he doesn't do that. With that being said, we have another article from the Daily Wire. We have Joe Biden's disastrous gun control speech. Now, of course, on this day of Hunter Biden being prosecuted, Joe Biden wanted to have a gun control speech. Now, of course, this is so coincidental that Joe Biden wants to have a gun control speech on the day that his son gets prosecuted for a gun-related crime. Of course. So he's saying that, we need to have stricter gun control laws and we need to restrict all these guns that don't kill people, but people kill people, but it's okay because we're going to ban them. Just like the AK-47 and the AR-15, we're going to ban those guns, even though it's not the gun that kills people, it's more the people that kill people. But I know that you can still get this gun illegally, but it's fine because people kill people. That's what Joe Biden says. Or no, guns kill people. That's what Joe Biden says. I say people kill people. It does not matter if you take away the law-abiding citizens' guns. People will still want to kill people because people are evil. Not all people are evil. Some people are evil. And those evil people will continue to do those acts no matter what you do. Let's just say that instead of saving $500 for an AR-15 or an AK-47 now, they have to go and wait an additional 3 months or so to save up $1,000 to buy what? To buy the Tavor X95? Like, what's the difference here? You just need to save up a little bit more money and you can still do the same exact thing. The thing is that they're trying to ban the guns that are the most popular first. And then they can go down to the least popular guns. And then they can go down to other guns. Of course, they banned the M16 and they ban all of these other guns that people actually enjoy using because they're fun to use at the range. Of course, that's what you're going to be using your gun most for. You're going to be going to the range. But of course, if you're an illegal possessor of a gun, of course, you're going to use it on the everyday basis. You're not going to follow any of the laws because you didn't have to go through any of the laws to get the very gun. Now, of course, that's exactly why when we have criminals, we charge them most of the time with possession of a firearm because of the fact that they don't have the proper licensing and stuff like that. But that's not going to prevent them from getting those guns in the very first place. It's not going to prevent somebody from getting a switch and attaching it to their gun and allowing it to shoot like a fully automatic gun. That's not going to prevent anyone from doing that. So it's just, it's very stupid at the same time because we play the same exact game with Democrats every single time something happens. Every single time a Democrat goes on the record and has a speech about gun control, they never have the solutions that we actually need. The solutions that we actually need is the following. If somebody shows signs of mental illness, we need to help them out with their mental illness. If somebody has shown signs that even a red flag law would prevent them from having a gun, and the red flag law doesn't even help, what makes you think that our government is smart enough, organized enough to stop an organized crime from happening? And it's sad because there's so many people within our police departments, within our FBI, there's so many people that are actually good with their job, but the higher ups are the ones that are not allowing them to do so. Of course, police officers have so much more things to do than sitting on the side of the road and trying to get somebody going 5 miles per hour over the speed limit. Of course, police officers have better things to do than that. But the thing is, they need to fit quotas out, matched by their location that they work for. Of course, police officers need to fill a certain quota and get a certain amount of tickets every single month. So by the end of the month, they're really scrambling to get enough tickets by the end of the month. But the thing is, these police departments have so much more things to do unless you live in a small town, because I know a couple small towns around me that police officers have nothing better to do. So I do not speed in those areas. But there's other areas that the police officers have so many things to do that they're overwhelming the police force, and not enough people are actually trying out to be cops, so they just don't have the police force to actually enforce law. So most of the time, there's people just doing shady stuff in the middle of the night to try to get away with it. There's a certain street in the town that I used to live in, or not really a town, but a city that I used to live in, that prostitutes would go up and down the street. That's how non-lawful the area was. So it's not good whatsoever. Of course, like I said, police officers have much better things to do than than to actually pull people over for speeding, they should be doing this. They should actually be enforcing the laws on the books on this aspect. But like I said, it's not the police officer's fault. It's the police or sergeants and the police captains and the higher ups, even higher than those people, that actually, like the AJs, the attorney generals and stuff like that, that actually don't even prosecute the crime that the police officers go and try to arrest and try to stop because of the fact that the AJs just let them out. Especially in New York City and New York State more broadly, the AJs that are in those states and cities within New York and stuff like that are just released. All the criminals that get arrested, they're just released on bond, or they're just released in general because of the fact that they want the crime in the city. So the police officers would arrest somebody for committing a crime. They would go through the process. 2 days later, they would be out on bond, or they would just be out for free. And then the AJs would retire and then not even have to deal with the seriousness and the consequences of their actions. It's disgusting. So with that being said, Joe Biden's disastrous gun control speech, one whopper at a time. So President Joe Biden delivered remarks on Tuesday at a gun control advisory group and even Everytown annual conference, Gun Sense University, and as often the case when Biden speaks about guns, critics were quick to point out a series of factual errors. Of course, Biden's comments came within hours of his embattled son Hunter Biden's conviction on several gun-related felonies, including a few of his oft-repeated and already debunked claims, in addition to a few new additions. Greg Price noted several mistakes that the Biden whipped through in under a minute, from debunked claims about his alleged history as a professor to the assertion that the Second Amendment was written in a time where individuals were not permitted to own cannons, which is just stupid. Joe Biden, in less than a minute, Prince began adding claims he was a professor, which he never was, claims he taught a constitutional law class in the Second Amendment, which he never did, says that you couldn't own a cannon when the 2A was implemented, which you could, and ends by failing miserably to say the phrase, the T of liberty is watered with the blood of patriots, which he doesn't even know what a patriot is, so I don't blame him for blundering that. There's never been a time that says you could own anything that you want. Never. You couldn't own a cannon during the Civil War. No, I'm serious. Think about it. Biden said. Nobody thinks that you're joking. Whenever he says something, he thinks that people are laughing at him. Nobody's laughing. Nobody thinks that you're joking around. We know that you're dead serious, man. We know that you're serious. Stop saying that I'm not joking. We know that you're not joking. But as the New York Times and the New York Post reported, I should say, the few laws passed regarding cannons during the 19th century were primarily focused on limiting where they could be discharged, restricting the sale of a weapon to children, and regulating how gunpowder could be stored. Is it legal to own a Civil War era cannons in the United States? A fact check on Biden's speech today, one I have done many times. You can own a cannon. Of course, because he's stupid. He doesn't even know what people can even get. Never mind when the Second Amendment was first passed. Today, you can buy a cannon. And I see people, sometimes there was a time that I was going to Pennsylvania. I was going to Hershey Park, and there was a cannon in somebody's front yard. I'm like, what the heck is this? And we were all laughing about it because we thought it was funny, but it was actually a really cool addition to their front yard. I think it was in Pennsylvania. If not, I believe it was in Pennsylvania that I saw it, but it was actually really cool to see that in person. I didn't really go up to the front yard. We were just passing it by as we were going to Hershey Park. But it was really actually cool, and you can still get it today. This was only, I would say, like 7 years ago that I was there. So the laws did not change. As for the late President Thomas Jefferson's quote, the tea of liberty, the tea of the tree of liberty must be refreshed from the time to time with the blood of patriots and tyrants. Biden's version was as follows. How much have you heard this phrase? The blood of liberty washes those, give me a break. So he doesn't even know what Thomas Jefferson said. Gun owners of America added a few infractions to Price's list. Oh, don't forget, Joe Biden said Americans would need a F-15s to resist the tyrannical government. You wouldn't. Claimed the firearm industry is the only industry with immunity. They aren't. Claimed that guns kill more children than car accidents and cancer combined. They don't. Got the name of the federal agency responsible for gun control wrong, the AFT. Biden also repeated his call to ban assault weapons, saying that he did not understand who needed a magazine that could hold 200 shells. That's not an assault. What is an assault weapon? There's no definition of an assault weapon. Whenever somebody says an assault weapon, what the heck is an assault weapon? Because I could take this bottle, and then if I use it to whack somebody on the head, I assaulted somebody, and this is used as my weapon. This is my weapon, and the assault is me actually whacking somebody in the head with this very thing right here. So again, we need to actually sit here and realize what we're saying here. Assault weapon. There's no category of gun that is an assault weapon. You are not going to look up AW. Give me an AW. There's no such thing. An assault weapon is just an imaginary term that the left created so they can just label any gun that they get scared and makes them cry and makes them poop their pants and makes Joe Biden poop his pants, which is an everyday occurrence, banned. So that's exactly what they tried to do. They tried to ban the AR-15. What's the reason? Because it makes them poop their pants. What is the reason why they tried to ban the AK-47? Because it makes Joe Biden poop himself. So what? So we're going to be stuck with, instead of actually having guns that help us protect ourselves, and it's actually fun to use at a range, because I guarantee all of the people that want to ban these guns have never went to a range before. I just recently went to the range 2 weeks ago. I would like to go again. There was a slight problem with the rifle that I took, so I'm trying to sort out that problem, and we're gonna go back to the range. I enjoyed the range. It was actually a fun experience for the first time of me going to an actual real gun range. The last time that I went to a gun range, it was actually an airsoft rifle that I shot, and I actually got the target on the first hit of the first time that I actually tried using a gun in my whole entire life, and that was on the 4th of July, and I was wearing 3 different American flags throughout my body. So it was actually really good, and it was funny. I think I said this story before. It was funny because as I went up to get the airsoft gun from the instructor, he was like, "Oh, here comes the Canadian." So it was just funny because it was 4th of July. Anyway, it was actually a really good time. And what people don't understand is that's what the majority of people that are going to own guns that are going to do. They're just going to go out with leisure. They're going to go with their buddies. They're going to go to the range. And they're going to just have a good time for the hour, maybe 2 hours, every 2 weeks, if that, maybe a week. Because bullets are expensive too. People are forgetting the fact of, yes, you need to buy the $1,000 or the $1,500 gun first, or the $1,000 gun first. And then you have to get the membership, or you have to pay to actually go to a range, and then you have to pay for the bullets. And if you buy them in bulk, it's expensive, but then you save a little bit of money. Or if you don't get them in bulk, you need to go to the gun supply store, which is next to your house, which bullets are going to be like $13 for 20. Like, it's not a cheap thing to actually do. And those 20 bullets, you're going to go through like no tomorrow. Even the actual the thing that the targets that you actually shoot, those aren't, I mean, they're $1, maybe $2 each thing. I'm not saying that they're the most expensive thing in the world, but it's still money that you have to spend. Nobody's just going out and using their gun willy-nilly in their backyard, unless you live in like Texas, or you live in somewhere like Nevada, where you have lots of space. Nobody's going out in the backyard and just shooting all the time. No, you're going in a safe environment, in a closed facility, in a range where you can actually enjoy your time there and stuff like that, not really worry about stuff. That's where the majority of Americans are going to use their firearms. So obviously Joe Biden does not know this because of the fact that he doesn't talk to an American. He doesn't realize what the facts are, and he doesn't even care about what the facts are because he has a progressive policy and a progressive ideology to push on Americans, and that's to take away your guns and take away your rights. Our Second Amendment in America is to protect ourselves and bear arms because of the fact of a well-militarized militia, or a well-regulated militia, goes and protects the ability for people to bear arms. I'm not saying that is the exact quote, but I'm saying that is the reason. Our military is supposed to serve us, the people, and preserve our freedoms as Americans, not the other way around. Not we, the people, are going to go and preserve the right of government to control our life. That's not it. And it does not also say the government of America will go and try to restrict upon us, the American people. That's not also what it says. So, of course, Joe Biden needs a little refreshment before he absolutely loses his mind fully. Of course, he might remember the time with Thomas Jefferson in the Senate. He remembers talking to Thomas Jefferson, but the thing is, at the same exact time, he's forgetting a lot of this stuff. Yes, he might remember the founding of America in 1776 and the signing of the Declaration of Independence. He might remember all of this stuff, but the thing is, he's not remembering it now. He might be 400 years old. He might be a dullard and an old man and a dullard. he is not the man that he used to be when he was a young 40-year-old man 300 years ago, okay? He's just not the same man. With that being said, we have another article from the Daily Wire. We have Merrick Garland pens op-ed declaring criticism of his DOJ is dangerous. Now, whenever you attack something that the left has the authority over, it's dangerous. You cannot, it's like attacking democracy. Democracy is liberalism on the finest degree. So if liberalism, which is any Democrat winning the election on that very year, does not actually happen, so a Democrat does not win the election that year, democracy is under attack. If the Democrat does win an election that year, democracy is saved. So, of course, democracy does not mean democracy in their terms. It just means liberalism. Liberalism is under threat whenever the Republican wins, because, of course, when a Republican wins, everything that the Democrats put into play is, quote unquote, under attack because of the fact that they passed all these policies that are absurd, agenda ridden, and not based in reality. So, of course, when a Republican gets in there, they completely overhaul what the Democrats did because of the fact that it's just stupid what they passed. So, of course, you're going to make sure that there's some common sense in Congress. There's some common sense laws on the books. So, of course, you're going to go and do that because it's common sense, of course. So, with that being said, let's move into the article now. So, Attorney General Merrick Garland is responding to what he says as unfounded attacks that are endangering Department of Justice employees and, by extension, the state of democracy in America, as the GOP pushes back against what they see as a partisan lawfare. The Washington Post published an op-ed on Monday in which Garland called for an end to the wave of conspiracy theories, lies, intimidation, and threats of violence that he said has escalated against public servants under his charge, including the FBI in recent weeks. Garland made reference to merit prosecutions against former President Donald Trump as he runs another campaign for the White House, including the hush money case in New York in which a jury found Trump guilty on all felony counts he faced. These attacks come in the form of threats to defund particular department investigations, most recently the special counsel prosecution of the former president, Garland wrote, alluding to the House GOP's push to block or limit the federal grant funds of Trump prosecutors. Garland said conspiracy theories have been used to undermine public trust in the judicial process itself. Among them, he said, are false claims that a case brought against a local district attorney and resolved by a jury verdict in the state trial was somehow controlled by the Justice Department. DOJ officials did not investigate people because of their name, their political affiliation, the size of their bank account, where they come from, or what they look like. Yeah, says him. We investigate and prosecute violations of the law, nothing more, nothing less, Garland wrote. Okay, so why didn't you prosecute Hillary Clinton then? For actually killing our service members because of the fact that her emails got leaked and the locations and whereabouts of our military officials got leaked to the very enemy that we are fighting. They got cornered, they got killed. Why isn't Hillary Clinton being prosecuted then? Why wasn't Hillary Clinton being prosecuted if you care about the rule of law? Because of the fact that you do not politicize the Department of Justice to go after your political enemies. That's exactly what Trump did. This is exactly why Trump was the bigger man for not going over and steamrolling Hillary Clinton with the Department of Justice by investigating her fully. Why did she bleach bit her hard drive, which it held her emails in which she was being prosecuted for or investigated for and asked questions about? Why did she bleach bit it and destroy her evidence that they were going to use against her? Why did she do that if she had nothing to hide? Because of the fact that the DOJ did not prosecute because Trump told them not to. Now, you can say whatever you want. Oh, well, it was Trump's responsibility. I know it was Trump's responsibility. And Trump is a bigger man, and I really wish that we could go back in the past and have Trump prosecute Hillary. Lock her up. Like he said in the campaign trail in 2016. Lock her up, because she deserved every single moment of prison time that she would have served. Now, of course, again, that wouldn't be good because that would be a Pandora's box that would be opened. The Republicans would be the one to open that Pandora's box, but that would be the Democrats that would seek retribution in the upcoming election. So that would be a revenge tour and blah, 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 blah. But that would be the shoe on the other foot. Of course, the Democrats would have no problem in that if the Democrats are doing it. But the Democrats are not doing it in 2024. The Republicans are doing it in 2024. Thus, the Department of Justice is going on the attack. If the Department of Justice was fully Democratic, and they were on the side of the actual people that have a problem with stuff, then of course, they would not have said this. So, of course, they are political. And he's straight up lying to us, the American people, and he thinks that we're stupid. We're not stupid. We know exactly what's happening. We are not intimidated by these attacks, he said, but it is absurd and dangerous that public servants, many of whom risk their lives every day, are being threatened by simply doing their jobs and adhering to principles that we have long guided the Justice Department to work. The op-ed comes as House Republicans are moving towards holding Garland in contempt of Congress for defying a subpoena to hand over recordings of Special Counsel Robert Hur's investigation into President Joe Biden's handling of classified documents. So, of course, they don't want us to actually see the footage of our president speaking in behind closed doors to Robert Hur because of the fact that this is hours long and Joe Biden probably fell asleep a couple of times. And he looks like he's losing his damn mind because he's pretty damn close to that very aspect. But the thing is, they don't want this investigation video to be released because they said that it's top secret and it's going to ruin the investigation and stuff like that. But the transcript is already released. The transcript, we already know exactly what was said during the interview. We know exactly what was said. So what is the major difference is because of the fact that we can't see Joe Biden and they can make him look better on paper, but they can't make him look better because they're not going to attach AI to his eyeballs and make his eyeballs actually look at the camera because a lot of editing programs actually do that now. And then they're not going to allow Joe Biden to be made fun of. So they're in the pocket of the president of America, in which case their job is highly politicized at that point. Garland insisted that his op-ed of the DOJ does not make any political discussions in criminal investigations, a charge GOP critics have made in regard to the Trump cases and others, and warned democracy cannot survive without a justice system that guarantees equal treatment of all of its citizens. Of course, this is exactly what we need because of the fact that we know that Trump was unfairly prosecuted. We know that for a fact because if his name was not Donald J. Trump, then he would not be prosecuted for the following crimes. Because of the fact that the federal government opened up a case against Trump in 2017 and 2018. They looked into it. There was not a case there. And then Merrick Garland's DOJ opened up the case themselves. And then they said, well, we can't actually do this because we are the federal government. We're going to have our attorney general, which is actually a New York attorney general, just prosecute this because it would be statewide. The same exact thing happened in other circumstances. Just like how when pro-life protesters went outside of a church or went outside of an abortion center and started praying silently and tried to get other people to not kill their babies. They go outside of the abortion center and then the federal government says, well, let's actually use this as an opportunity to evict the FACE Act. And then other investigations that took place within the state, they're like, nah, there's nothing here, it's okay. And then the federal government goes and uses the FBI to raid the home in the middle of the night of these people. And then they're getting 20 years of prison time because of it. So again, this is a highly politicized DOJ and the DOJ knows it. But of course, the DOJ is not going to say it because of the fact that it has some political motives behind what they're actually doing. But of course, they don't want to admit it though. So just because you're not admitting it doesn't mean that we can see exactly what you're doing behind your smug comments. And you're taking advantage of us, the American people. We don't like that. So with that being said, we do have another article from The Federalist. We have Merrick Garland thinks that his Department of Justice is above criticism. It's definitely not. Attorney General Merrick Garland published an op-ed in the Washington Post on Tuesday declaring the unfounded attacks on the Justice Department must end. It's strange and unsettling for the chief law enforcement officer of the United States to write such a thing. Whatever the merits of his argument, it doesn't come off as an argument, it comes off as a threat. Of course, because he's the federal government. Garland opens with the case of a man recently convicted for threatening to bomb the FBI field office. That's a crime, of course, has no place in our American society. Garland goes on to say that in recent weeks, the Justice Department has seen an acceleration of attacks that go far beyond public scrutiny, criticism, and legitimate and necessary oversight of our work. There is baseless, impersonal, and dangerous. You would think then that he's referring to the attacks like the bomb threat, but he's not. In the very next sentence, he says these attacks come in the form of threats to defund particular department investigations, most recently the special counsel prosecution of the former president. So for Garland, a bomb threat is apparently the same thing as lawmakers to defund the obviously corrupt investigation of former President Donald Trump by the DOJ special counsel Jack Smith. Of course, because of the fact that that's something that the Democrats want to do. If it's something that the Republicans want to do, they would completely defund the act. They would make sure that it is the hardest possible thing to actually do. They're going to repel. They're going to, when they get into office, they're just going to completely obliviate that actual measure. They're going to make sure that all of the policies that you implemented under your presidency is returned back to quote unquote normalcy. And normalcy is just the liberalism again. Just like how Donald Trump tried to start the Abraham Accords and tried to get peace in the Middle East, but then as soon as Joe Biden gets into office, he completely destroys the whole entire Middle East alliance program. He builds up Hamas. He makes sure that Hamas is nice and strong. Hamas ends up attacking Israel. And then he makes sure that Russia knows that he's weak. So then Russia tries to invade Ukraine, in which they continue to invade Ukraine since he took office. And then China's looking at Taiwan saying, well, I think it's about time that we take our land back. And then Joe Biden's like, whoa, Corn Pop was a bad dude, and I fought him and I won. Be scared. Like, nobody's scared of him. Everybody knows that he's not going to do anything. Everybody knows that he's just going to trip up going up the stairs the next time, or poop his pants in the next time that there's a holiday. So nobody's threatened by Joe Biden, but they are threatened by Donald Trump, former President Trump, because they think that they don't know if he's going to hit the tweet button or he's going to hit the nuclear arsenal button and then detonate a whole entire country. He will. Don't mess with him. But the thing is, Joe Biden, he's senile, he's a dullard, he's an old man. So, of course, nobody's threatened by him. Moving on with this article, but there's no law in America against spreading conspiracy theories. Just ask the entire corporate media that spent years spreading outlandish conspiracy theories about how Trump was a Russian agent. What's more, many Americans now sincerely believe, with good reason, that in light of what's going on lawfully against Trump, ongoing lawfare against Trump, the judicial process itself is indeed compromised and undeserving of public trust. Of course, I fully agree with that. If these Americans are spreading what Garland thinks are conspiracy theories for the purpose of persuading their countrymen that the Justice Department is untrustworthy, that is their right as Americans, of course. But Garland doesn't appear to think so. Throughout his op-ed, he elides the stark difference between specific threats of violence like a bomb threat and First Amendment protected speech, like disagreeing with Merrick Garland. We should expect nothing less from the Attorney General, who smeared concerned parents who speak out at school board meetings as domestic terrorists. But what Garland alludes to is bone-chilling, because he's saying that unfounded criticism of a weaponized, politicized Justice Department is equivalent to a bomb threat, which is just disgusting. Setting aside that such criticism is well within the bounds of protected speech, it's also not true that it's unfounded. For example, Garland says that the DOJ is being attacked with false claims that is a case brought by a local district attorney and resolved by a jury verdict in a state trial was somehow controlled by the Justice Department. He's referring here to the case in Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg brought against Trump in New York, winning a conviction against the former president last month in a murky, convoluted charge that will likely be overturned on appeal. Hopefully. When Garland decries assertions that the case was somehow controlled by the Justice Department, he was referring to the fact that his own attorneys, Matthew Colangelo, left the DOJ 3 days later, joined Bragg's office to work on the Trump case, a pretty obvious indication that Garland's Department of Justice was in fact controlling or at least involved in the Bragg case. Of course, because this is exactly what they wanted to do. They wanted to prosecute Trump federally, but they knew that if Trump was to win election in November, he can just go and pardon himself. So they didn't want to do a federal charge on him because of the fact that, again, that's not the only reason. They also tried to do a charge on him federally, but there was no evidence to actually prove it without a reasonable doubt. That's why they needed to go to the highest partisan court in the land, in a district that he probably got 2 votes for. As a former president, that actually matters, and could not find one bipartisan person in the whole entire city, and they wanted to prosecute him there. They tried to act like the jury that they were trying to find was actually nonpartisan, but again, it's not nonpartisan. But the thing is, he wanted to switch venues, switch courts, and the judge would not let him because it was all set up for him to get charged. And that's all they cared about, a charge. Even if he was to get set free on appeal, they would not care because of the fact that he's still charged with something. And even though he appealed it and then he won the appeal, they don't care about that whatsoever. So, to suggest as much is, in Garland's view, a conspiracy theory that must, quote, end. That's what his office said to the useful idiots at Politico like Kyle Cheney, who doubtfully carried water for Garland this week by posting on X about how the DOJ informed House Republicans that it searched for emails between Colangelo and Bragg's office but found none. Of course, because of the fact that they're not going to say that they did. The outlandish implication of Cheney's tweet is that Colangelo left the Justice Department to work for Bragg's office without ever talking to anyone who worked there. As my colleague Molly Hemingway commented, I guess if they didn't use their public emails to discuss anything, Colin Gallo didn't really go to Bragg's office. And it's a conspiracy theory to talk about it. Of course, because they're not going to send public emails. This is not how it works. The revolving door between the Biden administration and private companies are as follows. It's a revolving door that keeps swinging open whenever somebody wants to go from thing to thing. They'll go from the White House press secretary to an MSNBC nighttime host, and then they'll go from the Department of Justice in Merrick Garland's office to the Department of Justice in Alvin Bragg's office in a statewide court system when they're prosecuting somebody that they do not like. So they'll go from here to here, here to here, they'll get hired immediately, and then they'll go back to the Biden administration and act like they were nonpartisan while they were there in the private office. It's not true. They can't be nonpartisan if you just worked for the Biden administration just last week. So, and of course, that's not the only thing that happened in this court system. We talked about the whole entire case. It's actually, they told the jury not to come to a consensus, but they told the jury to say, do you think that Trump did something? And if you said yes, then he will be charged. If you said no, then he won't be charged. That's exactly it. If you think that he crossed the crosswalk when the red hand was flashing, then in 2008, then yes, prosecute him now. That's what they told the jury, and that's exactly what the jury said. So with that being said, we're going to be digging into the media's takes.
No, I'm not a writer.
Okay.
This is a CNN article on the matter. So, of course, Hunter Biden was convicted. We already talked about this. This is CNN's stupid view of things. So, an unprecedented 2 weeks of legal drama that yielded historic convictions of a former president and a sitting president's son has also produced a clear political takeaway. The survival of rule of law in America is untainted justice may depend on the choice voters make in November. Okay, so the thing is, the rule of law in America, guys, in 2020, you were just saying that this is so unfair, and the Department of Justice is prosecuting certain people over other people just because they're racist, just because they have a political motive. But no, here in 2024, 4 years after that very situation that we just talked about, no, the rule of law in America is saved. We just saved the rule of law in America, and they only prosecute things that we want them to prosecute. So the rule of law is safe. What are you even talking about? Doesn't even make any sense whatsoever. The country's divergent possible paths under President Joe Biden or the GOP nominee Donald Trump was highlighted in the way of both men. Their families and their political oppositions reached to the twin trials and verdicts. Biden made no effort to interfere in the prosecution of his son Hunter with either his executive authority or with the media megaphone of his office. He allowed his own Justice Department to secure the guilty verdict on Tuesday that could result in jail time for the recovering addict. Oh, boo-hoo. Okay, so the thing is, they're looking like, oh, this is nonpartisan, guys, and Joe Biden, he's not going to say a word about the case, and he doesn't care. Prosecute his son. If his son did something wrong, prosecute him. Joe Biden does not care. No, Joe Biden does care. Come on, you're not going to blow smoke up my ass. Joe Biden obviously cares. Joe Biden cares about his son so much that he went and sat on the phone with him when he was meeting with his other colleagues on the board of Burisma when he was working in a Ukrainian energy company. Don't blow smoke up my ass. This is exactly how stupid they perceive the American people as being. They think that you're stupid and you're not. You realize this whole entire thing is a political prosecution against Donald Trump, and they want you to get your eyes off of the unfair prosecution of Donald Trump, so they will go and prosecute the president's son as a ploy to have it look like, at least, that this is a nonpartisan court of law and they only follow the rule of law here and they only follow the evidence and they go where the evidence takes them and no more, no less. That's exactly what they do. No, this is not exactly what they do, because of the fact that they know for a fact that this is only used to distract you, the American people. They think that you're stupid. They think that you have the mental capacity of a fish and you have the memory of a baby. It's not true. The American people are way smarter than this. We know exactly what's happening. We know exactly what they're trying to do behind closed doors and how stupid they perceive us, the American people, are. This is also according to MSNBC here. So Joe Biden is right not to pardon his son Hunter. So, President Joe Biden had a choice to make. On paper, at least, his son Hunter was found guilty Tuesday to federal gun charges, making it the first time a sitting president's son has been convicted of a crime. At any point, with a stroke of a pen, Biden could have made those changes go away, and he could have issued a pardon that could not be challenged but in our legal system. Okay, but the thing is, like I said, he's stuck behind a rock in a hard place. If he pardons his son, then it's gonna look like he is interfering in a case and blah 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 blah. But if he does not, then I said that he is going to be looked at as if he does not care about his son Hunter. But the thing is, he used this very case to get himself out of other trials. So are we going to bring up those trials again? Why is it that he was allowing his son to stay in his house, and his son was paying him $300,000 a month for rent at his own home, which was paid off in Delaware? Why was it also the fact that he had classified documents in that very house in Delaware in his garage next to his Corvette? Why was it also the case that he was in the same exact room when Hunter Biden was on the phone with his colleagues in Burisma, a Ukrainian energy company? Why was it also the case that when Hunter Biden went and got a gun, he lied about his addiction in his gun and his drug addiction problem on the application? He got a firearm. Why was it that his ex-wife took the gun from him and hid it in a dumpster next to a high school? Why was it that in the 2016 election, Hillary Clinton, when she was running for presidency, bleached her whole entire hard drive, made sure that nobody can find the emails that actually got our service members killed? Why was she not prosecuted for that? Why was Bill Clinton not prosecuted for paying off the person that he had sex with in the White House? Of course, the name's not coming to me at the moment here, but the thing is, in the very White House, in the Oval Office, Bill Clinton had sex with his secretary. He was prosecuted for this in the fact of an impeachment. But the thing is, he was not prosecuted for paying off this witness, this person that he had sex with. He was not prosecuted for that at all. So the thing is, there's a distinct difference between these two things, but the similarity here is that they're mildly different, but they're still kind of similar. It's still relating to paper. It's still involving you filling out a form incorrectly. Hunter Biden filled out the gun form incorrectly, which resulted in him getting a firearm illegally. Donald J. Trump filled out a tax form the wrong way, which resulted in him paying more taxes to the federal government. So which one would you rather? Like I said at the beginning, I prefer the latter, of course. So of course, Joe Biden will not pardon his son because of the fact that how shady it's going to look if he actually does. And then MSNBC and CNN are celebrating this very verdict and this very thought process. But again, it does not really matter what he does because of the fact that we know exactly what's happening here. So with that being said, we have another article from the Daily Wire. We have here's what people have been charged for vandalizing pride flag displays with tire marks. So again, throughout America, because it's the most holy month in the whole entire year, there has been a influx of people trying to decorate the sidewalks, decorate the road with these rainbow flags, which is America's new flag, quote unquote, according to the Democrats. And since they're on the road, some people take it upon themselves to, drive on the road. And this is not something that we actually look up upon in America. We actually frown upon you for driving your car, especially if it's a gas-powered car. So again, they hate you no matter what. But the thing is, if you drive on this rainbow road that they painted on using your tax dollars on the road and you leave a tire mark, they hate you for it, and they're gonna prosecute you for a hate crime. If you walk on the flag, then they're gonna prosecute you for a hate crime. So they'll put a no walk zone on the middle of the sidewalk because they just painted rainbow colors on it. And if you walk on it, you're arrested for a hate crime. It's like on an airplane seat, they'll put a rainbow flag there, and if you sit on the rainbow flag, you're charged as a hate crime. But there's no other space to even sit on the plane because the plane is full. So it's a prosecution because of the fact that they just want to prosecute you, the American people. So this just makes sure that that they just get to lock up the American people, and then they say, oh no, this is nonpartisan. You actually broke the law because you actually drove on the road. Like, what do you mean driving on the road is illegal now? Just because you put something on the road does not mean that we can't drive over it. It's the road. If you don't want it in the road, road, get it out of the road. Put it as a flag hanging up, okay? If you don't like it on the road for it to get drove over, then hang it up on a flagpole, because we're not going to drive over the American flag. The American flag is up high, standing high on the flagpole. That's what we're going to do. So that's exactly what you do with a flag. You don't put it on the floor. You don't put it on the ground. You don't put it on the road. You don't put it on the sidewalk. These are where people step. These are where people ride their bikes, ride their cars. This is where people ride mopeds, and stuff like that. Of course, tire marks end up on roads in America because that's exactly where people drive. So, this is a statement that Biden said when his son was convicted of gun charges. As I said earlier this week, I will accept the outcome of this case and will continue to respect the judicial process as Hunter considers an appeal. He continued, Jill and I will always be here for Hunter and the rest of our family with love and support. Nothing will ever change that. The trial lasted a little more than a week. Witnesses include Biden's ex-wife, a former girlfriend, and a gun store clerk who sold him the revolver. The exact crimes Hunter Biden was convicted, including lying on a federally licensed dealer, making false claims on a federal firearms background check, and being in possession of an illegally obtained firearm. Hunter Biden also faces criminal charges in California related to alleged tax violations because he was not paying his taxes. So, of course, this is the very least amount that Hunter Biden is being tried for, and that's exactly what they want us to pay attention to. Nothing more and nothing less. With that being said, we do have a Breitbart article here where Trump-backed Republican candidate soars to victory in Nevada primary in a senatorial race. So, we have Sam Brown soared to victory on Tuesday night in Nevada Republican primary senatorial race. Brown, who served in Afghanistan and was endorsed by former President Donald Trump on Sunday, and received 58,000 votes because of the fact that Trump just recently went to Nevada and he was saying to vote and stuff like that, and he actually made sure that people knew that he was going to be there for the American people in Nevada. You can see that Trump has his pullback. This is an actual very good thing because Trump said that he's going to save the tip industry. So if you do get tips and you're a waiter or a waitress and stuff like that, and you get tips, or let's just say if you're a busser, or let's just say if you're a delivery driver in the service industry and stuff like that, you will not be able to actually get charged federal taxes on your tips. So that will save you 13% per year. So let's just say that you make $20,000 a year just in tips, stuff like that. That will save you, let's just do the quick calculation right now. So let's just say if you do save, so let me just go to the calculator really quick. So it's 20,000 and then you save the 13%, you will save $2,600 per year under Trump. So of course, in Nevada, they're going to really enjoy Trump. They're going to say, well, actually, he has some good assets. He has some good opinions. Let's actually vote him in. And instead of them, like, obviously they can't vote for Trump right now because it's not November. So they're going to vote for the next best thing. And that's going to be a person that Trump endorses. So other candidates such as Jeff Gunter, the former United States ambassador to Ireland during the Trump administration, received 16,000 votes, or 16%, while former Nevada State Rep Jim Merchant, Republican, received 6,000 votes. All of these people are Republicans, of course. Gunter lashed out in response to Trump's endorsement of Brown, describing it as being a pay-to-play scheme. When Gunter was younger, he had appeared in a late-night infomercials in which he pushed an anti-wrinkle skin serum product. One man alleged in a lawsuit that it had resulted in him being inflicted with a disease. While serving in Afghanistan, Brown sustained injuries as resulting in an improvised explosive device, the IED, going off. The explosion resulted in one of the men from his platoon being killed and 3 others hurt. Brown ended up with various serious burns all over his body, resulted from the IED explosion, which is an American hero, by the way. I commend him for his service in the military, and I applaud everyone that is a veteran of this country, because this is exactly what they go through. A lot of people don't actually realize what our American troops go through on a daily basis and what our American troops actually endure when they're in the hostile environments of our enemies that want to kill them. It's very, very disgusting what Americans have to go through, and not just Americans, but veterans that are in any military have to go through. They risk their life. They're sold to die. And I commend them because it takes a certain person with a big heart and a love for this country that cannot be separated to actually give their self for this country. So It takes a certain person. And even I don't have those things. So again, it's very commendable. This person risked his life and is now suffering the long-term consequences of serving this country. And he won because of the fact that he's such a powerful and a hero to America. That's why he won. And Trump endorsed him because he is a hero. And Trump knows that he's a hero. And that is the best person that you can actually have in our Senate. A hero that risked his life and has battled wounds that will forever alter his life. That's the person that you want in our Senate and our Congress in America that's serving us, the American people. People like us. People that are commendable heroes and actual full-hearted people that risk their life and still have the repercussions from that action, because that is a God-loving person, an American-loving person, and that's exactly who we need in our Senate and our Congress in America. So with that being said, that's going to do it for this episode of the Demetrius Joe Show. If you did like this episode and you do want to see more, I do upload new episodes of the show every single Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. With that being said, we're going to end off this episode here. If you did like this episode right here, please like and subscribe down below, because I do post new episodes, like I said, every single Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for listening, and I hope they have a great rest of your day. Bye.